Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness Rintrah Build-A-Figure Wave. Here we have Marvel's Sleepwalker. Sleepwalker is not a character I was familiar with. I know he's from the 90s. I thought he was a villain this whole time, but reading the bio and then checking out online to see kind of what the character is about. He's in fact not a villain. Totally with the look, right? You would think he's a villain. I mean, look at the artwork on the side. Totally screams villain, right? He's green with purple. That's villain colors, but he's actually not a villain. He's actually kind of interesting. But here is Sleepwalker. Now, I know there are some concerns with the figure in that he uses the Bucky Cap body, which sucks. Bucky Cap is kind of on its way out. We know that it's not going to be gone for completely. It is being phased out, yes. But Sleepwalker, I believe, is over 7 feet tall, so Bucky Cap, that ain't the right body for it. So unfortunately, he's going to be on a little bit of the smaller size. But he does look pretty cool and pretty interesting. He has a set of interchangeable hands. We got the other leg to the Rintrah Build-A-Figure. Looking at the artwork, he looks awesome. He really does. We just get a plain old Marvel logo there, nothing on top because it is not an actual Doctor Strange movie figure. Marvel's Sleepwalker, his bio reads, "The Sleepwalker is the guardian of the mindscape, apprehending beings that invade the sleeping minds of humans." So it's kind of interesting. He's an alien. You can't actually pronounce his name. That's why Sleepwalker is actually like the race of alien that he is. But it's kind of interesting. And then he's like bonded with a human, and then when the human, I think his name was Rick, when he sleeps, Sleepwalker comes out and then fights the bad guys. So kind of interesting. Here, the entire wave, Sleepwalker is the last figure, so we can take a look at the Rintrah Build-A-Figure. I'm getting excited for that and for this figure. Let's get this thing out of the package. But before I do, big shout out to ToySnowman.com. That is where I got my 5 of the figures from the Doctor Strange wave. Amir with ToySnowman.com, he actually sent me an email and said, "Hey, I just got the Doctor Strange wave in. Did you want to get an order in so I could ship out right away?" I said, "Yep." I placed my order right away, and he got them shipped out to me. I have a link in the video description below to save you 5% off when you create an account. That's for new customers only. Please keep in mind that he does not have this wave in stock anymore, because as soon as I posted it on Instagram, people immediately went to the site and he sold out. So make sure you're following me on Instagram so you can get all those notifications and everything, so you don't miss out when something is in stock and ready to ship. But anyway, now let's get Sleepwalker out of the box. Okay, and here is the Sleepwalker figure out of the package, and he's a pretty good one. It is basic, though. It's the Bucky Cap body mold. We know what we're getting into with this figure because it's been used so many times at this point, but there are some new things, such as the lower legs, the forearms, lower legs and forearms. That's all that's new. But, the same articulation that you come to expect with the Bucky Cap and everything. The figure looks pretty good for what it is. Bucky Cap does take away, especially since, he should be a little bit taller. The head sculpt is pretty good. The cape we've seen used multiple times with like Hobgoblin a few times, and at this point I can't even remember how many times it's been used, but it's been used a number of times. In fact, the new retro Hobgoblin also uses the same cape. Here we have the other leg for Rintrah. This is the left leg for the Build-A-Figure. We will throw that off to the side. We now have all the pieces together, and we will look at him in the next video. He comes with one additional set of hands. So out of the package, he has fists on the figure, and then he just has kind of these open, relaxed hands there that you could swap out. But there's Sleepwalker. Let's get in for a closer look and take a look at him. Again, very basic. It's just a blue Bucky Cap body. One of his arms is green, and there's some cool things with the wraps for his boots and for his gloves that actually look pretty cool. Nice. So let's get in for a closer look. Okay, so here's an up-close look at this Sleepwalker figure, and he looks pretty good. We get this nice green color for his skin tone, which you can see his right arm is exposed there, and looks pretty good. The head sculpt there, just a little bit of green. It almost looks like a little bit of darker green around his upper lip. Yeah, looks to kind of be the case, and around his eyes a little bit of a darker green. And then he's just got red eyes. So red eyes seem to be a common theme in this wave, such as despair. I'm just kidding. But these two comic figures both have red eyes, so coincidence? I think not. It probably is. But anyway, looking at Sleepwalker, just the Bucky Cap body. It's done on a blue body. We get this nice belt here that kind of has like this wrap bandage look to it. The same goes around for his gloves for both arms. And what's nice, they have this like sculpted little wrap here that kind of hangs down. So that is actually pretty cool. The same with the other arm. You have an even bigger piece wrap that's kind of floating around out there. So those are new, which look pretty good. And then here we have this one around his right leg. You can see it kind of has this end piece that's kind of hanging out there, so that is pretty cool. The legs, you get the same thing around the legs, and you have the kind of these pieces out here that kind of extend out, which is a nice little added detail. The ankles are kind of weird on this guy though, so if you look, he's got some fat ankles, some cankles if you will. And then he's got these feet, which is just kind of standard feet. Mine, you can see this one seems a little bent, but the feet are pretty narrow in comparison to where the ankle meets. So you can see it just kind of looks a little off, and it makes him stand a little hard to stand. And part of that's going to be because of this curved foot on mine that I've got. You know, I'm sure some hot air or hot water will kind of fix that. So it's not really an issue, but just thought I'd point it out. But I do really like how these came out. You know, the boots on the leg, the belt, and then for the arms. That is pretty cool. Looking at the cape, again, this is the same cape that we've seen multiple times with the different Hobgoblin figures, and I'm sure Demogoblin probably used it. I want to say somebody else used this, but it's escaping me with, you know, with the 1,000 Marvel Legends figures that I have. I can't remember every single one of them. But looking at the head sculpt, the head is glued into the hood, so that this is not really just going to come out or anything. It's glued on there, so you'd have to pop the glue off if you wanted to take it out. If you wanted to remove the cape, of course you could, because it is, you know, just kind of rests over there. There's no peg hook or anything to go into the back to keep it in place. So nothing you have to worry about in that sense. And then you just slip the head right back on, and there is Sleepwalker. So now let's zoom out for his articulation, which is limited when it comes to his head. Okay, so Sleepwalker's going to have a hard time looking down because of the cape and everything and the hood. He just can't really do it. Looking up is definitely a challenge. You could kind of move his back that way a little bit, and then you can kind of get him to look up. You get a full rotation in there, not really a whole any pivot going on. The shoulder you can get to go straight out essentially and up a little bit. You can do full rotation, just kind of, you know, keep in mind the cape that's there. Upper bicep swivel on this guy. You get a double jointed elbow like so. You only get that much bend, so a little bit more than 90 degrees. Wrist swivel, and they do hinge, standard horizontal hinge. Ab crunch, so Sleepwalker can crunch forward that much, crunching back a little bit, but then, you know, because the cape, you can hardly kind of tell. You have a waist swivel in there. Legs go out that far apart, so look at that. That's pretty crazy. Oh, my knees are crazy gummy on this figure, so keep that in mind. Like super gummy at the knee. Not all Bucky Cap is like that, but mine ends up being that way. Foot, he can kick out forward this much. Goes back a little bit. You have an upper thigh cut in there. Solid double jointed knee like so. You get a boot swivel, or would that be considered a boot, around the wrap around his calf. So you swivel there. Foot hinges down. Hinge up tiny bit. Ankle pivot. Peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Bucky Cap. So you guys know what to expect, because I've probably gone over Bucky Cap articulation probably 100 times by now. But anyway, there he is. Let's see him next to the other comic figure from the wave, Despair. Okay, and for some side-by-side comparisons, here we have Sleepwalker, Despair, and the Retro Spider-Man. That way, I know people didn't like that I didn't do any side-by-side comparisons with Despair. These body molds, we've seen them used over and over again, so you kind of get the height, but they're all about the same height. Sleepwalker is a little bit higher because, you know, the hood that he is wearing makes him a little bit taller, but they're all about the same height. So there you go. Okay, and there is my review of Sleepwalker. He is a really good figure. I'm trying to mess around with some lights and stuff. That looks pretty cool right there. Pretty interesting figure, character. The action figure is pretty basic though. I mean, we're talking Bucky Cap. So, you know, you can't really expect a whole lot when it comes to Bucky Cap. Soon it'll kind of be going away. A couple of things to really pay attention to is the gumminess of the legs. You could tell they use a much softer plastic for like these wrap areas of the legs, and that can make it a little bit difficult to stand because he kind of wants to get wobbly. So that kind of sucks. But it's an interesting one. There's a lot of cool things about the character, a lot of things that people really like, and I'm sure a lot of folks are going to be disappointed in his size just being pretty short with the Bucky cap as opposed to like a 7-inch or I guess 7 to 8 inch figure for a 7 foot plus tall character. So it's just kind of one of those things. But he does look very good. And it's nice to add additional characters to your Marvel Legends collection that we haven't seen before, because this is the first time Legends figure, first time action figure probably for Sleepwalker, and he seemed to be pretty popular in the 90s. So while I think people are going to be disappointed, I do think it's one you guys should pick up, because it's always good to get additional characters into the Marvel Legends line, and this is the chance we have here, Sleepwalker. So you guys let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on the figure. If you guys liked the video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.